Good evening, welcome to the It's All Greek to Me blog tour. I'm Dr. Paul Kiritsis and this is blog number 34. Today we're going to be discussing the Hermetic art of alchemy. It's a week's dedication to this, one of the most interesting subjects in esotericism. We begin with a historiographical analysis. In contemporary times, the word alchemy is most often connected with a transformation or change of some sort, and has even been used in a pejorative sense by the scientific community as a synonym for pseudoscience. But lying deep inside the kernel of the word itself is both the potentiality of a quest and the fulfillment or culmination of that quest. It is an archetype wedged so deeply within our unconscious minds, as deeply rooted perhaps as giant cypress trees are to the windswept cliffs of Samaria Gorge in Crete, that we remain ignorant of the reality unless it is purposefully brought to our attention. The same is true of the dynamic historical tradition that is loosely termed alchemy rather than alchemies by the scholastic establishment. For an infant, the culmination of a search better known as the Philosopher's Stone is the acquisition of a beautiful toy castle on the shelf of a local boutique store, or a cornetto ice cream in the freezer. For a teenager, on the other hand, a year-end trip to the European Alps might signify the attainment of the stone in the form of a lifelong desire to experience snow. For a younger businesswoman, it is the promotion that will relieve her of financial burdens and render her dream of attaining a designer dress possible. Alternatively, for a decrepit old man wasting away in a nursing home, it is an unprecedented visit from his only son and his daughter-in-law that bequeaths a useful livelihood and elation not felt in years. In this sense, alchemy is an unconscious and diligent striving towards a condition, a reality or a state of being perceived to be better or more appealing than the existing one, irrespective of whether the goal is ever attained or not. The constituent elements of the alchemical sphere, an unconscious seeking and searching through both qualitative and quantitative means, cannot be localized to the individual, for it has existed in collective consciousness for time immemorial. Naturally, the question being to be answered is what kind of search would persist for so long in persons from such a variegated group of disciplines as astrology, medicine, mysticism, science, and philosophy. What kind of search might possess human beings to peer under stones, to pick Mother Nature apart, and to subject her mineral, animal, and plant matter, as well as the metals of her womb, to extreme heat and chemical processes, in laboratory and other artificial settings, over and over and over again? What kind of search might prompt one to exhaust all their possible resources, avenues of critical inquiry and thought, to part with their wealth, to become estranged from their families, or risk excommunication from their respective religious factions and the like? Simple, really, an encounter and union with the numinous and formative force of the cosmos known as God, giving the proselyte intimate knowledge of the heli of the cosmos, the prime substance or materia prima, that would enable imitation of nature's teleological striving to perfect its own created forms, engage their multiplication, and allow one to become God. If the final cause in the ethereal world of being is God, the Empyrean, then its material constituent is undoubtedly gold, the eternal and incorruptible metal. And here I have a little example. This is gold. This is 24 karat gold, suspended in a liquid. The ultimate quest, then, might be seen as the perfection of nature, the world soul, or anima mundi, in her true and mineral, animal, and vegetable aspect. The fabrication and multiplication of God's material flesh, gold, and the discovery of an elixir or medicine which might confer the condition of immortality upon mere mortals, a condition both indigenous and exclusive to the Godhead. This fascination will undoubtedly remain at the helm of worldly imagination until we actually achieve it, or until the sands running through the hourglass of our existence expire and we are inevitably wiped from the cosmic slate of the universe. Herein lays the practical concerns of those who have styled themselves alchemists through the ages. Foremost of their pursuits was chrysopoeia, which is gold making, and argyropoeia, which is silver making, through metallic transmutation, the preparation of drinkable gold using an antidote against used as an antidote against many ailments known as aurum potabile, and the discovery of the chemical signature or vital essence of all substances through a repeated cycle of distillations. Spagyria, the production of potent herbal medicine through alchemical processes, was also a popular exponent of work carried out in a laboratory setting. So too was the attempt to create artificial life forms or embryonic mannequins known as homunculi in the womb of the alembic. Of course, the magnum opus of all alchemical endeavours was the synthesis of the two constituents of the philosopher's stone, the scintillating white and red powders that could transmutate any base metal to silver and gold, respectively. The plausibility of such transmutational feats rested precariously upon a primordial belief that belongs to the animistic and vitalistic tradition of the pre-Socratic philosophers, namely that all is one, entopan, and that everything, from the inanimate and inert to the animate and reflexive, is alive. In an eternal cycle of becoming and unbecoming, the formed matter, or the individual nature of objects that make up the shadow play of the universe, is all composed of the same prima materia, the same base substance. What differentiates the universal hierarchy of eternally evolving forms from one another is the composition of their individual souls, to be understood through an Aristotelian teleology, where the qualitative essence or type crystallizes under a unique combination between the first four differentiating elements of the materia prima. And of course here we speak of fire, water, earth, and air. The just mentioned, of course, do not denote the material elements and should not be understood as such. They are merely four principles which underpin a wholly fundamental plan to the universe. As with all elements in the mineral world, the physical base which underpins all metals is identical, only their invigorating essence, their soul, differs. If the ethereal fire represents the wholesome and immaterial form of God, then it must be completely unfixed and expressive in gold, whose form is jovial and immortal. Conversely, it must be severely inhabited and blunted in lead, given that its own form exhibits quantitative and qualitative markers that are the antithesis of gold. It's heavy, lackluster, and temporal in that it is easily tarnished by air. The implications of such a philosophy is that the metallic transmutation is indeed possible through the manipulation of the metal's respective essence or soul. Most alchemical treatises speak of the destruction of the old form, of a particular substance or metal, its reduction to pure receptivity, that is the materia prima, and the subsequent conferral of a purer, nobler form that cures it of its sickness and elevates it on a universal hierarchy of purposes that understands God as the primal mover and cause. In such a teleological cosmogony, where above and below, inner and outer, and consciousness and matter are all one in God, the chemical processes occurring in the alembic are not only mirrored in, but also facilitated by analogous conditions that must be present in the soul of the alchemist for the endeavour to be successful. Hence we can be certain that alchemy has been a dual tradition from its humble beginnings. It's both a practical and chemico-operative science based on theories borrowed from Greek natural philosophy, as well as a transcendental and mystical art.